Hey guys, welcome back to r/Am I the a-hole? In this video, I spent 10 years saving every penny for my dream home, and then my golden child sister tried to take it with one phone call and one forged signature. She called the cops to get me thrown out, and my dad tried to rewrite the deed behind my back. Let's dive right into the story.
What do you want?
And the first one is from r/Am I the jerk and is titled, Am I the jerk for not giving my house to my entitled sister? So I'm posting this on a throwaway account because my main account is known by a few friends who know the situation, and honestly, I just need to get this all out in one place. I've been lurking on this subreddit for years, reading about entitled family members, never thinking I would actually have a story that tops some of the insanity I've seen here, but here we are. So for context, I'm a 32-year-old male, my sister is 29. Growing up, the dynamic was textbook golden child versus scapegoat. My sister could do no wrong. If she broke a vase or something, it was because I put it in a dangerous spot. If she failed a class, it was because the teacher was out to get her and I didn't help her enough with her homework, even though we were in different grades. My parents, specifically my mother, worshipped the ground she walked on. She was the creative spirit, the fragile flower who needed constant support and affirmation. I was just the utility. I was the one expected to mow the lawn, fix the computer, keep my grades up, and stay out of the way. And yeah, I moved out the second I turned 18. I did not go to a fancy college like my sister did, which my parents paid for in full, including her sorority dues and a brand new car. I instead went to a trade school, got certified in HVAC and specialized industrial refrigeration, and started working. I lived in crappy studio apartments, ate fast food, drove a beat-up truck, and saved every single penny I could. I missed family vacations because I was working overtime. I missed birthdays because I was picking up emergency shifts, and my family did not care. In fact, they preferred it because it meant I was not there to bring down the mood with my so-called blue-collar energy, as my mother once charmingly put it. Fast forward to a year ago, after a decade of grinding, investing, and living well below my means, I was finally ready to buy a house. I did not want just any house, I wanted a sanctuary. I found a foreclosure in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood. It was a disaster on the inside, water damage, outdated electrical, the works. But the bones were good, and it sat on a double lot, which is unheard of in my city. I bought it in cash. No mortgage, all those years of overtime and sleeping on futons paid off. I spent 8 months renovating it. I did 90% of the work myself to save money and ensure it was done right. I gutted the kitchen, rewired the whole place, installed a top-tier HVAC system, obviously, and turned the detached garage into a full workshop. By the time I was done, the house was appraised at nearly double what I put into. It was my pride and joy. It was the first thing in my life that was truly and undeniably mine. I didn't tell my family though, we were low contact already. I'd seen them maybe twice a year for major holidays, where I would sit in the corner while my sister bragged about her latest business venture, usually an MLM or a failed Etsy shop, that my parents were funding. They did not know where I lived, they didn't know what I earned, and they certainly didn't know that I was sitting on a paid-off property worth over $500,000. The mistake happened when a cousin of mine, who I'm actually cool with, came over for a housewarming barbecue. He posted a picture of us on Facebook with the caption, "Chilling at OP's new place, proud of you, man." He didn't tag the location, but the house in the background was clearly nice. Modern siding, new deck, and a big yard. My mother saw the post, the phone calls started almost immediately. I ignored them for 3 days. Finally, I picked up expecting a congratulations, but instead my mother's voice was icy. She asked why I hadn't told them that I bought a house. I gave a vague answer about being busy with work and renovations, and she asked for the address. I hesitated but gave it to her, thinking that at 32 years old I should be able to handle my parents knowing where I live. Big mistake, let me tell you, at least in this case. 2 days later, my mother and sister showed up unannounced. I let them in, which was mistake number 2. My sister walked around the place like she was a health inspector. She critiqued the paint color in the hallway, she said the kitchen island was too industrial, and she made a face at my leather recliner. But I could see the gears turning in her head. She saw the quartz countertops, the smart home integration, the massive master bedroom with the ensuite I'd built from scratch. "This is way too much space for one person," she said, running her hand over my new stainless steel fridge. "It is wasteful." "Well, I like the space," I said, trying to keep things civil. "I plan to grow into it." My mother chimed in then. "Your sister is having a hard time right now, you know. Her landlord is being a tyrant." I knew for a fact her tyrant landlord was trying to evict her because she hadn't paid rent in 4 months. My dad had been covering her, but apparently even his patience, or wallet, was wearing thin. Well, that sucks, I said. I hope she finds a new place soon. They left shortly after, but the vibe was weird. I felt like they were measuring the curtains for themselves. A week later I got an email from my dad. It was a long rambling message about family duty and fairness. The gist of it was that since I was single, childless and always working, I apparently did not need a 3-bedroom house on a double lot. My sister, however, was planning her future. She was single and not dating anyone, by the way, and needed a stable environment to heal her trauma from the eviction. He proposed no, he didn't propose though. He stated that the fair solution was for me to let my sister move into the house. He suggested I could live in the detached garage, my workshop, since it was insulated, or I could rent a small apartment nearby and they would help with the rent. He framed it as if I was holding onto a family asset that I had not earned. I replied with one word: no. And then the flying monkeys were released. And yeah guys, let me know in the comments whether you would have been up for that amazing deal, and would you have given your house to your entitled sister? Let me know in the comments what you would have done if you were in this ridiculous situation. Also, by the way, while you're at it, please don't forget to like the video, because that would help me tremendously. Anyway, suddenly, aunts and uncles I hadn't spoken to in a decade started messaging me, calling me selfish, and my mother left voicemails sobbing, saying I was punishing my sister for my own jealousy. My sister sent me texts ranging from pleading to threatening. She said I stole her opportunity to have a good life. She claimed that because our parents paid for her college and not mine, technically the money I saved was family money that should have been used to help her, so the house was family property. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level, so of course I blocked them all. On a Saturday morning about 3 weeks after the initial visit, I was in my garage working on a compressor. I had the music up loud so I didn't hear the truck pull up. I saw the movement on my security monitor. A large moving truck was backing into my driveway. I wiped the grease off my hands and walked out. My sister was standing there directing the driver. My mother was there too, holding a box of what looked like kitchen supplies. "What are you doing?" I asked, walking down the driveway. My sister didn't even look at me, she just pointed at the front door and said, "Put the sofa in first," she told the mover. "Stop," I said, stepping in front of the mover. "Turn the truck around. You are not moving in." My sister finally looked at me, and the look in her eyes was pure, unadulterated entitlement. It was the look of someone who's never been told no and had it stick. "Don't start this today," she snapped. "Mom said it's settled. You're moving to the garage. Give me the keys." I looked at my mother. She refused to make eye contact, busying herself with a potted plant she had brought. "It's for the best," she mumbled. "She needs this more than you do. You are strong. You can handle the rougher living conditions." "I own this house," I said, my voice rising. "My name's on the deed, mine alone. If you don't leave, I'm calling the cops for trespassing." The mover looked between us. He was a big guy, clearly paid by the hour and not interested in domestic drama. "Buddy, is this your house?" "Yeah," I said, "and I didn't authorize a move." "I'm out," the mover said, and he signaled his partner. "We're not unloading until this is sorted." They started walking back to the cab. My sister screamed. It was a primal toddler-like shriek. "No, you're ruining everything. Mom, tell him." "Give her the keys," my mother yelled, suddenly finding her voice. "Stop being so selfish. We are your parents and we decide how the family assets are distributed." "This is not a family asset," I shouted back. "I bought this with my money. Just go home." And then my sister did something that changed the trajectory of my life. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. I stood there stunned as she put on a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Please help me," she sobbed into the phone. "My brother is becoming violent. He's refusing to let me into my house. He's physically blocking me. I'm scared. Please hurry." She hung up and smirked at me, a cold, calculated smirk. "Now you're going to jail and I will get the keys anyway." I did not say a word. I just pulled out my phone, opened my Ring app to ensure it was recording everything, and waited. The movers had already driven off, clearly sensing that a police report was imminent and wanting no part of it. Then 2 squad cars arrived about 10 minutes later. The officers approached cautiously. My sister immediately ran towards them, tears streaming down her face again. "He pushed me," she wailed, pointing at me. "He stole my house keys and won't let me in. I have all my stuff here." The officers looked at me. I was standing in the driveway, arms crossed, calm. I knew the law, I knew my rights. "Sir, step forward," one officer said. "Keep your hands visible." I complied. "Officer, I'm the sole owner of this property. These people are trespassing. I've never lived with them, and they are not tenants, and they've no legal right to be here." The officer turned to my sister. "Ma'am, do you have a lease? Or proof of residence?" "My parents gave me the house," she yelled. "Tell him, Mom." My mother stepped up. "We decided that our daughter should live here. He's refusing to follow our instructions. We want him removed." The officer looked confused. "Ma'am, who's on the title of the home?" "Well, he is," my mother admitted. "But we are his parents. We have authority over him." The officer actually let out a small sigh. I saw his shoulders drop and he realized what kind of call this was. "Ma'am, that's not how the law works. If his name is on the deed and yours isn't and there's no lease agreement, this is his private property. You cannot force him to house you." He turned back to me. "Sir, do you want them trespassed?" "Yes," I said clearly. "I want them formally trespassed. If they return, I want them arrested." My sister's face went from fake sadness to pure rage. "You cannot do that. It's my house. You stole it from the family." "Ma'am, you need to leave," the officer said, gesturing towards her car. "The homeowner has asked you to leave. If you don't go now, you will be detained." My sister looked at the house, my beautiful renovated house, and then looked at me. She snapped, she lunged at me. It happened fast, but not so fast that I couldn't react. She came at me with her nails aimed at my face, screaming that she was gonna kill me. "Grab her!" the first officer shouted. However, she did manage to scratch my neck, drawing blood, before the second officer tackled her. She fought them. She was kicking, biting, and screaming obscenities. It took both of them to get her onto the ground and into handcuffs. "Get off me! He's the thief! Arrest him!" she was shrieking. My mother was hysterical, grabbing at the officer's arm. "Don't hurt her! She's sensitive! Stop it!" The officer spun around and pointed a finger at my mom. "Back off or you're going in too for interference." "Step back." They dragged my sister to the cruiser. She was spitting at the window once they got her inside. The officer came back to me looking exhausted. "Are you injured, sir?" "Just a scratch," I said, touching my neck. There was a little blood. "Do you want to press charges for the assault too?" "Absolutely, 100%, and the trespassing too." My mother was standing by her car, sobbing. She looked at me with pure hatred. "You did this," she hissed. "You destroyed this family. Look at what you did to your sister." "Well, she did this to herself," I said calmly. "Get off my property." My mother got in her car and followed the police cruiser to the station. I went inside, locked the door, and poured myself a drink. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the adrenaline dump. I saved the footage from the doorbell camera and the driveway camera to 3 different hard drives in the cloud. I hired a lawyer immediately. I was not gonna rely on the public prosecutor alone. I wanted to make sure that everything stuck. My family tried everything to get me to drop the charges. My dad showed up at my workplace to try and talk sense into me. He told me that a real man takes care of his family and doesn't put his sister in a cage. He said I was embarrassing the family name. I had security escort him out. I then had my lawyer send a cease and desist letter to my parents threatening a harassment suit if they contacted me or my employer again. My entitled sister was released on bail, which my parents posted, but with a strict no-contact order regarding me and my property, and I also sent a letter to every relative who had harassed me. I included a link to the video of my sister attacking police and a copy of the public court record showing my parents' financial insolvency. I wrote, "This is the truth. If you contact me again, you'll be blocked. If you show up at my house, you'll be arrested." Most of them went silent. A few apologized, saying they'd been lied to. I didn't reply. I heard from a cousin that my parents lost their house. They are now living in a 2-bedroom apartment. My sister is living with them, sleeping on their couch because she cannot pass a background check for an apartment complex with her recent record. They are miserable. And well, they blame me, of course. They will tell anyone who will listen that I'm a monster who stole their home and framed my sister, but nobody really believes them anymore. The video is out there. Sometimes I do feel a twinge of guilt, not for my sister. She's a violent narcissist who got checked by reality, but for my parents. They are old, broke, and miserable. But then I remember that they were willing to make me homeless, willing to relegate me to a garage in a house I bought and built with my own hands, just to pamper a daughter who never worked a day in her life. They were ready to sacrifice my future for her comfort. And now we got a 6-month update to the story. I didn't think I'd be coming back to update this, but enough people messaged me asking for the final fallout that I figured I would type it out. Things have been interesting. After the restraining order was finalized and the dust settled, I thought that was it. I had my house, they had their misery, but narcissists don't just fade away, they tend to explode. About 2 months after my original post, I received a notification from my home title insurance company. Someone had tried to file a quitclaim deed on my property. For those who don't know, a quitclaim deed is a legal instrument used to transfer interest in real property. It's often used between family members. So essentially, someone had forged my signature on a document attempting to transfer 50% ownership of my house to my sister. It was clumsy, the notary stamp looked fake and the signature didn't match mine. I have a very specific messy signature and this one was neat loops. The county clerk's office flagged it because of the existing legal alerts on my property. Shout out to my lawyer for setting that up, and the police were involved immediately. Because there was already a restraining order and a criminal record involved, they didn't treat this as a civil matter. This was fraud and forgery. The investigation led straight to my father, apparently in a last-ditch effort to secure the asset. Before they lost their own home, he thought he could trick the system. He believed that if he could just get her name on the title, the police couldn't kick her out next time. He was operating on 1970s handshake logic in a digital database world. He was arrested for forgery and attempting to file false public records. Because he was already on thin ice financially, he could not afford a decent lawyer, and he ended up pleading down to a misdemeanor to avoid prison time, but the fines and probation were the final nail in the coffin for their finances. They were formally evicted from their home 3 weeks ago, and my cousin told me the scene was pathetic. No moving trucks this time, just them shoving clothes into garbage bags and loading up their sedans. My sister was apparently screaming at the neighbors who were watching, calling them peasants. They moved to a different state, somewhere in the Midwest where rent is cheaper. I don't know the address and I don't want to know. The most satisfying part of this update is not their downfall though, it's the peace I found in my own life. Since cutting them off completely, my anxiety has vanished. I didn't realize how much mental energy I was spending just bracing for their next demand or insult. I've been promoted at work to senior project manager now, and I'm dating someone who actually likes me for me, not for what I can fix for her. I've had a few moments of doubt, wondering if I went too far by pressing charges on my dad for the forgery. I mean, he's an old man, but then I look at the forged document my lawyer showed me, the sheer arrogance of thinking they could just sign my name and take my life's work, and the guilt evaporates. They didn't act like family, they acted like parasites, and when you find parasites, you don't negotiate with them, you exterminate them. I kept the house and I kept my sanity. And I broke the cycle. So Reddit, after all this drama, am I the a-hole? And yeah guys, let me know in the comments whether you think OP was the a-hole or whether he did the right thing. I would say OP was, well, not really a legend. I feel like he should have gone even further, but he definitely did the right thing. Those parents and the sister were absolutely awful. He should have cut contact way sooner if you ask me. Anyway, comment number 1, you're the a-hole. Look, I know I'm gonna get downvoted to hell, but hear me out. Yeah, your sister and parents were completely out of line, and yes, they had no legal right to your house, but you literally pressed charges on your elderly father for a desperate mistake that didn't even work. Your sister clearly has some mental health issues that your parents enabled, but it doesn't mean you completely destroy them financially and legally. You could have just kept the restraining order and moved on with your life, but instead, you went nuclear and now they are destitute in another state. I get that this subreddit loves the justice boner stories, but sometimes being technically right doesn't mean you're not an a-hole. You won, dude, you got everything. Was it really necessary to grind them into dust too? And the next one is another unhinged comment, which says, everyone sucks here, your family sucks for obvious reasons, the entitlement, the attempted theft, the assault, all of it. They are terrible people who created this whole mess, but you also kind of suck for how you are gloating about their downfall. And like the, when you find parasites, you don't negotiate with them, you exterminate them. Talking about your own parents like that, that's some supervillain crap, my guy. I don't blame you for pressing charges or going no contact, you had every right to protect yourself and your property, but the way you're clearly enjoying their suffering and homelessness feels gross. The fact that you're asking if you're the a-hole while simultaneously bragging about exterminating your family and watching them lose everything, yeah, everyone here needs therapy. And the next one is a petty revenge story which is titled, A Hold My Beer Moment. So I got a knock on my door. A nice man explains that he is building a home on the lot next to us and would like to know if we would let him get water from our garden hose. I don't see an issue and agree, and for weeks the hose is used as they dig down, put up supports and lay in the pipes for radiant heat. I had never seen how it was done and he was happy to show and explain. Nice guy. They worked 8 AM to 5 PM and were no bother at all. Unfortunately, I never caught his last name or phone number. Sadly, once the house pad hardened, the a-hole carpenters arrived. 25-year-old foreman with an attitude and 4 guys younger than him. They blocked my driveway, parked on my lot, blasted music, loud, crappy, lousy music, and they showed up at lunchtime, worked and hammered until after 9 p.m. Every night I came home and their damn fast food lunch trash was in my yard. 3 times I walked over with a handful of the crap, showed it, and told them to clean up. All I got in return was attitude. I began to collect the trash the day they painted the house, 10 p.m. I walked over with a staple gun and stapled every piece of collected trash to the side of the house. It was wood, OSB, no idea what that stands for, but wife and I call it old crappy boards. It was beautiful. A work of modern art. I so wish I had taken a picture. Well, next morning, Mr. Attitude is stomping in my direction. He points and yells, screams and yells. I laughed. He stomps away. 50 minutes later, police car arrives. Something I definitely not expected. They talk to them and then talk to me. 20 minutes later, Mr. Nice shows up, talks to the cops, the carpenters disappear, and I get an apology from Mr. Nice. Next morning at 8 a.m., a crew of older guys arrive and finish the home. And yeah, guys, you could say OP absolutely nailed it, or I guess stapled it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow.